Hey guys, Brian here. Hope your week's going great. In this video, I'm going to talk about real estate. If you own property, particularly if you own investment property, stay with me. All right guys, welcome back. Some people asked if I talk a little bit more about various cities I visit. I've been doing the nomad thing for a few years now, so I've been to some cool places. I'm actually in Azerbaijan right now. This is Baku behind me, but I was staying last 3 weeks in Tbilisi, and I have to say I kind of fell in love with that city. I think one of the main things I like about Tbilisi, it's the perfect combination of familiarity and some culture shock. If you're only used to the US or Western European cities, you're definitely going to feel a little out of place in Georgia, but it's a super easy place to live. English is everywhere, the cafes, restaurants, the subway. Driving around Georgia is really not much different than driving around the States. The gyms, I was telling a colleague, Tbilisi has one of the nicest gyms I've ever been to, so it's just a super easy place to kind of get settled into a routine. Also, I personally tend to enjoy smaller cities that fewer people visit as a tourist destination. I think Tbilisi really fits that vibe. There's definitely a digital nomad scene. I met several Europeans, several Brits. There's lots of foreigners there, but it didn't feel touristy at all. It was kind of quaint, actually. It felt like a smaller version of Kiev and just had a cool vibe about it. It's kind of a melting pot for that part of the world. Now, I did not make it to the water. Batumi is the popular spot on the Black Sea in Georgia. I did get up to the mountains, however. That's definitely the spot to be. We drove up to an area called Racha. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of this mountain we hiked, but this whole area was just fantastic. We stayed at these super cool tents on the side of the mountain, and great hike, great payoff at the top. So just an incredible few weeks in Tbilisi. I'll be back for a longer stay in the future. So like I said, I'm in Azerbaijan now. I'll show you Baku in a future video, but let's get into real estate now. First chart I want to show you is this one, private residential fixed investment. This is essentially purchases of private residential structures that are owned by landlords and rented to tenants. So this includes residential equipment and brokerage fees. We just dipped nearly 6% quarter over quarter. It looks like nothing on this chart, but one economist called it a staggeringly large housing contraction. Whatever it is, it pulled down economic growth. GDP was revised lower in the second quarter. We think this is a first step in what will be persistent weakness in housing markets. These next two charts really show why. New and existing home sales peaked at an all-time high in July 2005. So home prices followed home sales. They peaked a year later. This time around, the counter trend high came in October 2020. So it's almost 2 years later now. And in July, the median home price fell to about 2.5% month over month. This reversal, it fits seasonal patterns, but you can see that home sales are now in a near vertical descent. That bodes ill for prices, and this next chart speaks to that turning tide. It comes from Redfin. This is the percentage of sellers lowering their prices, right? 4-week rolling average just surged to almost 8%. That's the largest percentage since Redfin started tracking the data in 2012. So the tide is turning here. Many of the markets that led on the way up are now leading on the way down. Boise, Denver, Seattle, Salt Lake City, Tampa. These were some of the hottest housing markets in the country. Redfin data shows that 40 to 60% of sellers in these markets lowered their prices in July. This is the beginning, in our view, not the end.